Welcome to the new episode of All That Jazz. I'm your host, Matyash, and I have with me a special guest, Scott Healy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Matt. Nice to
Good.
meet you, mate.
Nice to meet you. And you were recommended by our mutual friend, Nicole, and she was on the podcast and she was great. And you wrote a book, and let's talk about the book and how it came about because I think it wasn't your original intention to write the book, right?
No, I went through 20 years of depression,
Hmm.
and I found a nurse psychologist in about 2014 who helped me out. And I went from suicidal depression to clear-headed, happy, everything just great within just a few days. And um, about 2 years after that, probably around 2016, I just started writing. I'd be sitting there, not long things, just short things.
Yeah.
Um, I'd be sitting there on of an afternoon, having a beer, listening to music, watching TV, and just a line of something would pop into my head. And I would just start writing. Some of the times I could have closed my eyes and still kept writing.
Hmm.
And I'd find myself a couple of days later going, oh, that's right, I wrote something the other day. And I'd go back and read it, and I'm like, where did that come from? I had no idea.
Hmm.
And over the years, I'd let people read them. So between 2016 and about 2020, I was just writing short stuff, and they were all just stored in my phone. And I'd shared them with people before, and they told me that I should publish them. And I'm like, no one wants to read this stuff. Who would want to read that? And it was just basically my observations and experiences of life. My experiences through depression, just my mind's thoughts, and um, just observations of watching people, humans, and how they reacted. I've been a bit of a loner most of my life, and but not lonely at all. Just kept to myself, did my own thing,
Yeah, same.
and yeah, and I just found myself just watching and observing people, and I became like a just a psychologist without the piece of paper up on the wall. I was able to sit down and help people. I was helping people all through high school and stuff. People had come to me with their problems, and I sort of always knew the right thing to say. And so back to 2020, I was talked into putting them into a book,
Mhm.
and before I fully published it, I just sent the manuscript of my writings just to random people on social media. I'd see some comments, kind people, and I'd randomly send them a message. Hey, this is not spam or anything. I'd just like to see if you want to read my book. I can send you a copy of it. It only takes an hour to read, and people would either respond, and most people responded and said, yeah, I'd love to read it. I'd send it to pretty much every corner of the world. And one of the best comments I got back from a girl was a girl in Germany. And she wrote back and said, for the first time in a long time, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep tonight because you helped me
Mm.
understand myself. She said, your words and sentences are stuck in my head forever.
Yeah.
And I noticed that I was getting all the same sort of stuff back. There was not a negative comment. There was nobody saying this is rubbish, this is crap. I didn't get anything but positive feedback. And I was getting 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10, people telling me it was like I was picking thoughts out of their mind.
Mm.
Um, and the funny thing is the cover of the book, I didn't even know anything to do with a great awakening. And the cover of the book ended up dark to light. I just looked for a photo for 8 hours. And the funny thing is the book cover was already in my phone from 2016. I must have seen the picture on social media or something one day and thought, oh, that's a nice picture.
Oh
And I
wow.
saved it. And
And that's what
there
you
was the
use for the
cover of the book.
cover.
Absolutely.
Oh
Yep.
wow.
And
Wow. So it seems like the
so it's
book was
been published.
inspired. It seems like the book was
Mm,
inspired in some way. Like you were going through stuff and you were writing as a sort of almost like therapy, and you were helping yourself, and
yes,
invariably you're helping other people now through the book.
yes. And I've always liked helping people. I've never raised a hand to anyone. I've never punched anyone in my life. I just want everyone to be happy. And it looks like now, if I can't do it in person by chatting to them, then I can do it through the words in my book.
Yeah.
And I know what an impact it's making. I got something back from an American girl, and her husband, she'd been going through a few problems in her life. And her husband said, "Oh, my wife needs to read this." And I said, "Well, I'll send you a copy of it and get her to have a read." And she wrote back to me eventually and said she had no um, inclination to read it. She wasn't going to read it. She didn't have time. And she said, finally, I just picked it up and I read it. And she said, I cried all the way through it. She said it
Mm.
was just beautiful. And that, especially because I went through my depression, there's probably only 4 or 5 writings in there, as you'd know now, that focus on the depression.
Yeah.
But I've also realized that there's a bigger reason for this book as well. It's going to help a lot of people in the very near future who have to reset their moral compass and rethink a lot of things about life.
Right.
And
Yeah, we're
my
going through a
whole
big
saying,
change. Yeah.
my
Sorry.
whole saying, I look, no, no, no. I was just going to say that if you were to ask the theme of the whole book, it's be kind to others, but be kinder to yourself. Because
Mm.
if you're not kind to yourself, how can you be kind to anybody else? And I've noticed that is the people who aren't kind to themselves are just can sometimes just turn out to be human monsters and just stuff all built up inside of them. Get it out, scream, yell, cry, do whatever you need to do. Tears are cleansing, they're not a bad thing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I had an experience yesterday when we talked, and I was just saying how
Mm,
I was feeling kind of bad. I feel like I should be doing more and stuff like that. And and you just
mm.
listened, and even that was cathartic, I think, for me. And I did feel better afterwards, quite a lot better. Because you know what it was? It was a lot of thoughts about how I should be doing this, how I should be doing this better, and that, and then after we spoke, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of okay. It's not that bad, you know. It's not that bad. You ever do any
I,
counseling,
I,
professional counseling?
well, look, as I said, I'm sort of like a psychologist
Yeah,
without a piece of paper on the wall. And to be honest with you, considering the psychologists that I had seen over my life, I don't want the piece of paper up on the wall. I go with the flow with people. I respond to what they say, and sometimes I've sat there for 2 hours and not said a word to people, and at the end of it, I've been told it's the best counselling session they've ever had, just by not even saying a word. But I think the energy I give off lets people know that I'm not here to judge them
yeah,
because I've been through shit myself in life. And who the hell am I to judge somebody for the things that they've been through, the problems that they've had, or the decisions that they've made? Because I've made some pretty shitty decisions along the way. I've made some mistakes, but to be honest with you, everything that I've done has led me to where I am right now.
mm,
Um, I'm here to help others. I'm here to serve others. I'm here to look after myself as well, because if I don't look after myself, I can't help anybody else. But everything has led me to this exact point in life where I know that I have a gift with helping people. So therefore it would be a waste if I was not to use that. I like
right.
my own time. I like keeping to myself. But if someone knocked on my door and said, I need your help, I'd be there. Come in, quick, let's talk.
So I think that comes with being an empath. A lot of it is picking up what people need, and as you said before about listening, I think in my experience, it's very rare that people really listen to you. You can kind of tell. Like I'll tell you a story about. I worked in a hostel, and there was this guy that was really promising, and then he was promoted later on. But he started a job that I was working at, and I had more experience, but I could tell that he was really listening. Like everything I was saying, there was nothing really that he did specifically, but like whenever I spoke about what I did or the way I did something, he would like attentively listen. I could just tell. Like it's really uncanny. And so I think people can tell when somebody's really listening to them. So when you're really listening to somebody, I think people can really tell, and you're empath obviously, so you have the compassion, let's say, to listen to somebody, and then they get it, and then they feel understood, because I think a lot of times people don't feel understood, right? And that's the problem.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's some a friend I had a few years ago. He said to me, um, I said, I actually get like the best feeling. It's almost like when you've helped somebody, it's almost like the best drug in the world. It's it
Yeah.
is something you just can't explain. Like I can be buzzing for hours after talking to someone and making them feel better about themselves. Um, I've been judged and treated like shit all my life, so I'm not about to go and do it to somebody else because I know how it feels when you're embarrassed, humiliated, put down. And I've said to people as well, it's not so much whether you're listening to somebody, it's also about feeling what they're saying. I know everyone's made differently, and I know I'm made differently than you, and you're made differently than me.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is everyone just at some point in their life wants to be heard and be heard by somebody they can trust, somebody that they can confide in and know that it's not going to go anywhere else. Um, I I don't know. I could go weeks without talking to somebody, but all I'd need is a message on my phone, and I'm there for someone if they need me. I
Mhm.
can't save the whole world, but one person at a time, I know I can make a difference, and I already have, and I already am. Um, there was, I guess, besides the book, we can talk about how I got to where I am at the moment. So,
Yeah, I think I would just want to say that sometimes it's like because you went through depression for a long time, you really understand it. And I think in today's age, so many people, especially last year when they were inside and they're not used to talking, not used to being by themselves, perhaps, or lost their jobs, they got into depression. So I think there is a big change coming because of the things that we were forced to do last year. But yeah, that's fascinating. So I'm fascinated with a lot of lines in your book, specifically about.
well,
Okay, go on.
no, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, how about instead of me rabbiting on and carrying on about my own book, you, who I was a stranger with just a few days ago, and now have read my book, I want to hear from you face to face what you thought of it.
It's great. I really love the philosophy part because you write that philosophy is theoretical, and
Hmm.
yeah, because a lot of times philosophy is written by guys who are in the comfort of their own homes, and they're writing it from theory and from their own emotions, and then they're not writing really from experiential practice as you had, and so I shared with you a story, one of my favorite stories of Winston Churchill when he was escaped from a prison in South Africa during the Boer War, and he was in enemy territory, and in that life and death situation, he couldn't really do anything, and all the philosophy that he'd read for the past 4 years couldn't help him in that situation. It was useless. All of it was useless. So the only thing that could help him was a higher power, a God. And so he prayed, and then he took a chance. He knocked on a door, and it was one of the only few doors in the neighborhood of miles or radius that was helpful to him.
Mm.
And if he
There's
hadn't prayed, I don't think he would have. I think he would just went straight back to prison, and maybe he wouldn't be a big famous guy that he ended up being.
mm,
And so yeah, it's really crazy how small events like that, decisions to turn your will to God rather than to your own fears, let's say, that changes massively. And I think you do have a understanding of God from the book. It's not a religious understanding. It's like I
uh,
think at the end you talk about forgiveness. That forgiveness is like the big goal. The more forgiving you are to yourself,
mhm.
that's the real spiritual growth, not what you tell
It's
like other
forgiving
people. Yeah. And talk
forgiving yourself. It's
Yeah.
if
Let's
if
talk
you
about
can't
that.
forgive yourself, yeah, look, if you can't forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made in your life, then you're not you're going to carry that burden with you everywhere. It'll be like a ball and chain. But the thing is, if people realize on a deeper level that none of us have really made mistakes, we've we've turned corners left or right, and we've done that because that was a lesson for us. Everything, as you'd know from reading the book, everything is a lesson.
Hmm.
And I tend to harp on certain things about the lessons, about tears and pain. Pain is a life force surging through you. Um, Forgiving yourself, though, you can't forgive other people for the things they've done to you until you forgive yourself for the things you've done to yourself. Um, and it doesn't matter how bad it is. I've sat in a 3-story ledge waiting to fall. Um, I've come home from the hospital, grabbed the sharpest knife in the kitchen, and
Hmm.
gone upstairs and slashed my wrists. I'm actually lucky that I didn't know how to do it properly. And I ended up, after about an hour of blood dripping all over me, I went into the bathroom. I imagined my mum or my sister finding me, and I burst into tears and I tidied myself up. And um, that was around the time when I found the nurse psychologist who helped me out. So
Hmm.
everything, in a way, no matter how bad it is, has happened for a reason. And I never used to really believe in that saying, happened for a reason. I used to say it a lot, but now I truly know that everything happens for a reason, everything is a lesson. But yes, forgiving yourself is a massive thing.
Hmm. Well,
Spirituality is not, that the quote in there, spirituality is not about religion. It's about how much your soul forgives itself.
hmm. Because that's also related to how you forgive others. Because it's
Hmm.
related. It's related. Everything that you There's an Eric Hoffer quote I really love. It's to paraphrase that everything you accept about yourself, yeah, you invariably accept about others. All
Sorry,
the
Matt.
things,
Matt, you just broke up. You
everything
broke
that you
up
accept
completely
about.
there, mate.
I said everything you accept about yourself, you then accept about others. So it works both
Yes.
ways. So because also when Jesus talks about like love your brother as yourself, but I think the problem is people don't realize that you have to love yourself first. You have to go to that place. And how do people become loving towards themselves? I think that's a big one.
That is that is a massive question, man, because
Yeah.
I think that only each one of us can. I can't sit here and give people a formula. I mean, I'm I can guarantee that my writings in my book would definitely lift somebody to the point where they can start um, to see the light through through the darkness and stuff. But um, yeah, it's a self journey. It's an
Yeah.
inner journey that you have to realize. I I hated myself. I wouldn't say I hated myself. I always loved my intelligence. I always knew that I was intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't like myself because I didn't have any friends, then I didn't like myself, and it must be my fault that I don't have friends. But then again, I came to a point where I realized that I don't need other people to validate me and make me feel better about myself, and that's a hard thing to realize, is that people feel they need to be validated all the time by other people. Now, don't get me wrong, if someone sends me a nice email about my book or something, or says something nice to me, then yeah, of course that has an effect. But you don't get it from the outside, you get it from the inside.
Right. Right. So it's a
And
inner journey basically. Um,
it's a complete inner journey. Until
uh,
you can look yourself in the mirror and literally look. I can look at myself and smile now in the mirror and go, I love you, Scott. Doesn't mean I'm better than anyone. I am better than no one, and no one is better than me. But I can look at myself in the eyes and say, I love myself. I care about myself. And the suicide attempts are a thing of the past.
yeah.
They they are what made me who I am today. And I'm just glad that I'm still sitting here talking to you right now.
Um, if I ask myself that question, I don't think I can say yes to that on most days. Um, you
There's
know
nothing
what?
wrong with
You know what?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right, but you know what? It seems that I'm placing a lot of it on external stuff, and that's why what you wrote about self-esteem is so powerful. You said without self-esteem, you are a slave to other people's judgment,
Mm, yeah.
and that's really true because I think that's been most of my life, really. Only in the past few years have I tried to, not not care as much. But obviously, I still do a lot of the time. Especially, it depends on the person. But yeah. So does that have to do with love? How much you love yourself, like the self-esteem part, or does that come from you accomplishing something outside or something inside? How do you come to a place where you have, let's say, a healthy self-esteem?
I think it's all connected. Obviously, it's all connected. It's a
Yeah.
point where, do you know what, that's a really hard question to answer, because it's not a formula. I don't really think there is a formula, Matt. I really think it's just something that you find inside yourself one day, when it's like, am I going to let I, I think not letting others treat you like shit is definitely a big part of it, because I
Yeah.
let people treat me like shit. When I was in primary school, there was one boy who I became friends with, and I knew him till the age of 21, and he was just awful to me. I'd go home crying. Mum would be like, "Why do you hang around him?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have any other friends. I don't know anybody else." So I would just keep repeating it like Groundhog Day. I would keep going back to this guy. Every girl that I liked, he would take them from me. He told me I remember 12 years old, he told me, he said, "You know what, Scott? You're the ugliest guy I've ever seen in my life. No girl's ever going to like you. No girl's ever going to love you."
Oh.
That was at 12 years old. He was a cunning little bastard.
That's cruel.
So,
Cruel.
oh, mate,
Cruelty.
that's only one. I'm only giving you one story of what he did to me. There is heaps worse, like embarrassing me, humiliating me. Now, the funny thing is, if it was just me and him, we sort of got along all right. But as soon as other people were around, I was literally a piece of shit under his feet. He would just kick me all over the place. And I couldn't do anything about it, because I was the quiet little kid who was uh, pretty much autistic. And I wasn't, I, I, I think I found now later in life, I have just the right balance of autism, if whatever they want to call it, empath autism. I'm not really worried. I don't care. But I think the self esteem comes from not taking people's shit any longer.
Mm.
Yeah, there you go. There's your answer. That's the best answer I can come up with. As soon as you decide not to let people treat you like fucking shit anymore, then you'll find your self esteem.
Mm. Boundaries. Setting boundaries.
Boundaries. There you go.
I think that's a big one. Yeah, because we talked about yesterday about TV as well. You said
Mm,
TV is people's god, and I really
yes.
love that because it's true. People won't believe it unless they see it on TV. And when I said that, I noticed a tendency in me that if certain outlets don't put it out, I doubt it. If is it really true? Did it really happen? And then when certain outlets, whether it be, but now a lot of people are online, so a lot of people focus on online. But I think for a lot of generations, still TV is the main thing.
Of, of course. If I mean, we had are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, sorry, froze. Um, I'm pretty sure, and it was probably the same thing all around the world. Our news programs used to have like a slogan of "We're the ones to trust. Come to us and listen to us. We're the ones to trust." So when you're having that bashed into your head at 6 p.m. every night for the local for the headline news and the slogans there, it's like a slogan you can almost sing in your head during the day. Oh, Channel 9, we can trust them, that sort of crap.
Yeah,
And if they're telling us we can trust them, then after being told so often, you start to believe, well, if I don't see it on the TV, then I can't trust it. If someone I've known for 50 years tells me some stuff that I don't agree with, then you turn around, oh, what, that should be on the TV. And I was actually explaining to someone the other day, and I said, when you actually see it on the TV, your God TV, then you might start to believe you'll believe it. But then you'll start to realize that that TV God has lied to you all the time. That's why
yeah.
it's called vision, tell lie vision.
Mm. I think
It's
that's where.
it's a hard
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
it's hard to break out of. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to break out of. It's like a veil over your eyes.
Mm. And they program us with desires like what we need in life. You need a good car, a hot girlfriend, a really big house. All the things that you see in movies. This is what people desire, and I think desire is one of the things too that's destructive because um I don't know, you're coming from a solar plexus and you're wanting something, and you're judging your
Mm,
value based on the material stuff. Um,
hmm
I think a lot
I
of
mean,
people do that as
it
well.
took me until yeah, but that's what we're conditioned to believe in. It's exactly as you said, the nice car, the hot girlfriend, the good job. I mean, if you're on a dating app, how many girls straight away just say, if you haven't got a job, I don't want to know you. So what, because I'm not a slave to the 9 to 5 clock every day, then that makes me a bad person or a scumbag? I
Yeah,
mean, seriously, I'd rather meet a girl when I've got no job and absolutely nothing. At least then I'll know that she likes me for who I am rather than who she portrays me to be. And the same thing goes for women as well. It's we're all the same just because we have the male or female gender. We're all connected. We're all meant to be beautiful human beings, not judging each other because you've got this or I've got that. And whether people realize it or not, they've got a big wake up call coming. The
mm,
Great Awakening is going to be a big wake up call. And there are things that I'd like to think that I know a lot of things, a little bit about a lot of things, but there's going to be a lot of things that come along soon that none of us ever knew. And we've got to go with the flow now, man. This whole world's about to turn upside down from where. See, the other thing is we've lived in a world where bad is good and good is bad. I
mm.
mean, what is it when you can go to a football game with 80,000 people there, yet you can't go to the local church down the road?
Or is
The
that what's
church is,
happening in Australia now?
oh, look, it's happening all over the world. I'm not
Mm,
saying, well, we had a football game on the weekend. We have Anzac Day here in Australia every year, and it's the Australian New Zealand Army Corps, and it's
right.
it's like a uh, it's a bond between Australia and New Zealand from the World Wars and stuff like that. So we have Anzac Day. There were 85,000 people at the Melbourne Cricket Ground watching a football game, and they closed off the war memorials so the old diggers couldn't go and commemorate the Anzac Day. That is fucked, man. Absolutely
Mm,
fucked.
wow.
85,000 people at a sporting fixture because the sporting fixture keeps us occupied.
Yeah.
They try and distract us, man. But yes, we actually did. We had war memorials in Australia blocked off the other day, and yet people were allowed to go and pack into an MCG for a football game.
And they're not
Sickening.
worried about COVID there. They're like, no, in the stadium it's fine, but the War
Oh,
Memorial where there's less people, no, this is definitely not acceptable.
get out of here. It's wrong. Like, I don't agree with wars. Wars are horrible, and people are going to find out very soon that they were all orchestrated. But the point is that good is becoming good again, and good will be good again. That's the main thing. Is we've lived in an upside down world where we worship celebrities and, wow, look at that basketball player, he's worth a gazillion dollars and he's got a nice car, wow, he must be a top bloke.
No.
No, no, it's all just, it's all for show.
Mm.
And just because you've got billions and trillions of dollars, it doesn't make you any better a person than the homeless man out in the street. Actually, sometimes the homeless people, you get more sense out of them than you would a billionaire.
Oh yeah, I think it's a lot easier to have humility when you have nothing and you realize the importance of just small things in life. When you have a lot of things, I think there's a certain different set of challenges, and it's a lot easier to be arrogant. And you talk about basketball. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I've never been a fan of there's an Australian basketball player, Ben Simmons, and for some
Yeah.
reason he's always bothered me. I think there's certain arrogance that he has that's coincidentally affected him because he hasn't worked on all aspects of his game. But
Hmm.
let's leave that aside. I think people can tell invariably about um, you can say something, you can say all the right things, but I think the point is some people, if you're spiritually healthy, people will see through it.
See, that's another. Well, since you mentioned spirituality, let's go down that path then. Spirituality doesn't have to be sitting in a circle with your hands together saying om over and over. My life, I can't meditate. I just fall asleep. I'm not saying it's not good for you. I think meditation is probably one of the best things in the world, but I I can't get myself into it myself. But I know plenty of people who meditate, and it does them wonders.
Mm,
And but my whole life's been a meditation on my own, and spirituality is not about religion or anything like that. Spirituality is about, if the whole world disappeared and you were the only person left on the planet, you'd have to find something inside yourself to keep going on, to not worry about other people. Spirituality is how much your soul forgives itself, exactly what we were talking about before.
mm,
I, back in, I think it was about 2012 or 2013, before I hit rock bottom, I was at a taxi rank one day. I was driving a taxi, and this older lady got in the car, long grey hair, and she got in, she said hello, and we sort of had a bit of a funny little back and forth chat. And within 2 minutes, she looked at me and she said, "Look, you're probably going to think I'm a little bit crazy, but I talk to the angels,
mm.
Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael." She said, "I had to come here to help somebody, but I didn't know who it was. And as soon as I got in your taxi, I knew who it was." And I'm thinking, you crazy woman, what angel sent you to me? She goes, "Look, they sent me to take away your pain." And she said, I can't remember the exact words. It is a bit of a blur, but for the next 3 or 4 days, we sat there and we kept meeting up. It was either random or she would call me to pick her up and drive around town.
Wow.
And there was one day in a coffee shop where we sat down on the way in. Now, I don't drink coffee much and barely ever. And she goes, "Do you want to come in for a coffee?" And I went, "Yeah, sure." And on the way in, she goes, "What sort of coffee?" "Oh, that's right. You don't drink coffee, do you?" I only known the woman a day or something. I'm like, okay, that's a spin out. I was still in my sort of 3D mind as just day-to-day stuff. Someone jumps in your cab and tells you um,
Right.
angels sent her to me. Um, she said, "Look, you were warned not to come back, but you were just determined." She said, "You can't help yourself. You're just determined to keep coming back and helping people." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "You weren't up the top on the other side. Let's just call it the other side
Yep.
for
Yep.
argument's sake." She said, "You were up the top, but not right up the top." She said, "You didn't have to come back here." And I said, "Why did I do it?" She said, "You still had some karma you wanted to fix up." I'm like, I'm like, have I done it? Have I fixed it? Do I have more? What do I have to do? She goes, "You've done it." I went, "What have I done? I haven't done anything. I haven't volunteered. I haven't helped. Well, I've helped people, but you know what I mean. I haven't gone out of my way to volunteer or anything like that. I'm just trying to be a good person."
Hmm.
And she turned around, she said, "The taxi." I'm like, "But that's my job. That's how I make money. That's how I pay my bills." She said, "You've helped people in the taxi, and that's your karma." And I went, "Holy shit. So I've got karma in the bank?" And she went, "Yep." I went, "Oh, sweet." I said, "So I can just pretty much just be myself now, cruise along, chill out." And she went, "Yep." She goes, "Just, you've got a lot of people to help in the future." And I'm like, "What? What do you?" Now I know why. Now I know how. Then a few years later, I had a girl break my heart.
Hmm.
And the first thing that came into my head was, and I'd never really found anybody who, psychics had always been a wishy-washy thing to me. I'd gone to them just to see what they've got to say, but I rang up one in Harvey Bay. I said, "I need to see you. I don't know what's going on. My life's falling apart. This girl broke my heart, blah, blah." And she didn't respond. I sent her a text message, and the next day she goes, "Come and see me at 5 p.m. And I walked up to meet her the next day. I'm in my taxi uniform. She turned around and she looked at me and she went, "Huh, you're special, aren't you?" I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" She goes, "You're an empath. You're number 217 I've met in my life." And I'm like, um, "Help me, please." So I ended up seeing her twice, and she didn't spill a lot of information to me. She just told me I'm on the right path. Everything's fine. I'm doing all right. Everything will get better in the future. And I went, "What am I going to do with my life? I'm wasting. I feel like I've driven a cab for long enough." I said, "I feel like I'm wasting my life in this cab. I know that there's more that I can do." She goes, "You're going to help people with depression." I'm like, "How can I help people with depression? I don't have a degree or anything. I don't know what to do to help people." She goes, "You'll help people with depression." I'm like,
Hmm.
"Okay, fine." And then 4 years later, there's the book. Now, while I was trying to get it published at the beginning of last year, I was ringing people around. I was almost in tears because I knew I had something special. Something special on my hands, but I didn't know what to do. It was all put together. It was all in a layout, but I needed it properly done, like professionally done.
Yep.
And I was working off almost no money at all. And I rang up an Irish lady and I'm like, "I need my book published, blah, blah, blah." And I'm crying my eyes out to her. And she said, "Look, I'm not the one that's going to help you, Scott." She said, "But you're going to have to realize it's not about you anymore. It's about the book." She said, "You're a vessel between the other side and here." And I'm like, um, Okay. I said, are you psychic? She goes, she said, I don't like labels. And I went, so
Mm.
I'll take that as a yes. And she goes, you can take it however you like. She goes, you will be successful. You will be fine. Just go along with the flow, sort of thing. And here I am today. And I honestly could not, I haven't got a cent in the bank, mate. I'm using my phone as a modem. But the point is that I've never, ever been happier in all my life, because I know that I create my own reality, and I'm not peddling a piece of crap with this book. This is a book that a lot of people will need. And at the end of the about the author, I say, all I ask from the universe is my words find the people who need them.
Mm.
The affirmation's there. And when people need it, they will find it, just like we all find things when we need them.
Yeah, I think that's a genuine intention, and I think books like this with a pure intention, they eventually
Mm,
find people that need them.
yeah.
And so let's talk about something that you mentioned before, uh, and something that the book I think will serve, the Great Awakening, as you called it. And what it, how, I think that people define it differently. So how do you define the Great Awakening?
In my own unique way,
Yeah, yeah.
seeing through the fucking bullshit.
All right.
Seeing through the fucking bullshit
Okay,
that
what
we've
is the
been lied
bullshit? Let's break it down. What is
to.
the bullshit?
Well,
Let's.
how many
By the way,
how
by the
many
way,
levels?
by the way, let's leave the election fraud for the end. Okay.
Well, you said it, so let's just leave it with just those two words. And yes, if you want to talk about it at the end, fine. Look,
Yeah.
the point. Oh, how do I explain it? See, I only had I always knew that there was something wrong with the world. Even from a little kid, I'm like, why is there wars and why is that like that? Um, oh, we will get to the Great Awakening. Funny, quick story. When I was about 4 years old, I walked into the kitchen one day and I walked up to mum and I said, what does the word fuck mean, mum? She's gone, oh, Scott, it's a bad word. Adults use the word, don't. And this is coming from her. Um, Is your microphone? Oh, sorry, the microphone was
It's
playing
all
up.
good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Okay. She said, oh, it's an adult word. It's a bad word. And I said, well, if you don't tell me what it means, I'm going to go out in the street and I'm going to yell it out really loud over and over. And she called my bluff and yeah, whatever. So the next minute, I'm down the end of the driveway and I'm screaming out, fuck, 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 top of my lungs. She came out, late 70s, elderly neighborhood, really quiet, leafy, greeny suburb. Everyone's peaceful. She took me up inside and she said, I said, what did you tell me? She goes, I told you something I don't know. And all you did, you turn around to me and said, thank you, mummy. That's all I needed to know. She said, I just walked off to my bedroom happy. So I always wanted an answer to everything, but
Mm.
quite often as life went on, I couldn't get the answers. And then you just see, we'll use politicians for an example. Politicians speak shit. They tell you one thing and they do another. It is it is like lying is like me telling the truth. I can't lie. I've tried. I'm not very good at it. So I've just given up on it. It's just truth all the way.
That's good.
Um, the When I was in year 12, I started drinking and girls, and like I was top 10% of the form. I was doing really good. And in year 12 came the girls and the drink and the weed. And so I was pretty much stoned all through my last year of high school. And there was a question about the Builders Labourers Federation. And I'm like, my answer was a bunch of fat lazy bastards who sit around a table and do nothing. That's my final year of school, one of my final exams, and I wrote 2 lines saying what a load of bullshit these unions and stuff are. So I always knew that there was bullshit going on around me. I just didn't know what it was. Then I'd say I was 60, 70% awake. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know what it was. And then in January this year, I had my eyes fully open to corruption, lies,
Mm.
bullshit. We don't have to go into specifics because people watching this are either awake or they're not awake. And that's not a put down at all, because 3 months ago I was semi asleep myself until I found out that, well, there's tunnels underground, there's horrible things going on underground, and there's a whole world going on underground. There was a whole
Mm.
world going on underground of absolute evil that none of us knew about.
You're talking about pedophilia, basically.
Satanism,
Mm.
pedophilia, pedivores, the whole lot, mate.
Yeah, I think there's things that are hidden from view that are happening, and I
Not
don't know what's the
anymore.
timeline. What's the timeline of it coming out? I think maybe in the next 4 to 10 years, I would say a lot of
People are
things are
going to
gonna
know,
come out.
Matt, people are going to know within the next few days to weeks to months at the most. I don't like putting timelines on anything. I've with this book, it's taught me patience, that not everything happens overnight.
Yeah.
And when people realize that it's not a timeline that we're in control of, we're just living in it. So
Mm.
it's, I said to someone the other day, I said, you've got the knowledge in your head and you know that everything's coming, like the good stuff, the people waking up, the fraud that's been put over our eyes for thousands of years. But once you know inside your heart, inside yourself, that it's coming, it's happening, it's not a, you don't need a timeline anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish it would happen right now. I wish our video would be shut off and the emergency broadcasting system came on. But this is out of our hands, man. People need to realize this has been going on for thousands of years. And we keep repeating the same thing over and over. And they keep using the same playbook, as in the bad people. We'll just say
Right.
bad people. The bad people keep using the same playbook over and over.
What is the
Starts
playbook?
off with
Okay.
well, look at Hitler's playbook. You got the brown shirts. Today we got the Antifa. You've got media being censored. You've got the
Mm.
fascism, and
Yeah. Cancel
back to
culture.
back back to Winston Churchill that you mentioned in the beginning. He has a quote that said, "The fascists of the future will call themselves anti-fascists."
Yeah, yeah. Antifa is a evil organization for sure.
They are absolutely evil, and there's all little offshoots of all other different little groups and stuff like that. I mean, if we were to go into this like from beginning to end, as much as I know, we would probably still be sitting here at Christmas time. Um, Again, I don't know everything about everything, and I'm happy to be wrong about things. I'm happy for people to prove me wrong with things. I'm like, oh, okay, I was wrong with that, or oh, wow, 10 million other people are talking about this. It must be right. It's governments are going to fall. Governments are falling. Governments have fallen. We're
Right.
just watching. We're watching a movie at the moment, and I know that that's hard until you actually understand the fact that we are all the bad people are gone.
The bad people are gone.
Yes, they're already, as far as I know, they're already gone. The
Mm.
bad people are already gone, and otherwise, the ones that are still being rounded up, um, they are either in jail awaiting trial, um, at Gitmo. I don't know. I don't know all the details, mate, because if we knew all the details, then the bad people, the smaller bad people who are still left here would know everything, right?
Right. I
So
think,
there's no
yeah.
there's no timeline, there is no plan, Matt. People have to get themselves out of this timeline thing. It's not about a timeline, this is about saving humanity. And when the world finds out, I'm going to learn new things, you're going to learn new things, but when the big picture comes out, the bottom line is they're going to find out that our whole world has been run by uh, uh, a pedophile cabal.
Mm.
They're all they're they're just rotten evil beyond evil, and I'm not afraid to speak anymore, because the more people that speak about it, the more people that come across. As I said to you yesterday, if only I don't care if only one person sees, if one person buys my book and feels better about themselves, so be it. If nobody buys my book, so be it. But the stuff that we're talking about now, I don't know what it's like where you are, but I used to listen to a lot of talkback radio.
Yeah.
And there was one of the talkback radio hosts who would always talk about pedophiles. Like, he was absolutely incensed about it. And you'd hear these court cases coming out, where there was one in Sydney where a few years back a father raped his daughter from the age of 9 till 14, in the marital bed with the wife next to him. This was all admitted in court. The father admitted to it. The mother admitted to it. And all he got was some sort of community service. The judge came out and said, "Oh, well, incest is different, so that's not as bad as if you don't know the
What?
person." Yeah, no shit. This is real. And he got like some sort of community service or something. He didn't even spend a day behind bars. And
Community service for raping your own daughter for years, for
yep,
underage daughter.
in
That
the
seems
marital
that seems
bed.
crazy. They
Yep.
even did they like peg him as crazy or mentally unstable?
No,
No.
no, he just admitted to it. The daughter said this is what happened. She took him to court. He admitted to it. The wife admitted to
Oh
it.
my
And
gosh.
he was let off because it was incest, and incest is not as bad. That was one of the reason why that sticks in my head is that's when I started thinking there is no fucking justice in this world. There is no justice. If you don't, I don't care whether it's your daughter or a stranger or anybody, you're doing that stuff to children, little children. Nah, man, you got to go. You got to go away, because that's just wrong.
Wow.
And,
I think
but no,
the wow the permissiveness of these judges that are permissive to crime is just incredible. I think the same is happening all across the Western world, where for certain crimes they're like, it's not really that bad. We don't want to condone it. We don't want to judge it too hard. But I think
yeah,
that's in itself is. I think there's a quote by either Abraham Lincoln or somebody else that mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the victims, basically, something like that.
mercy to yes, cruelty to the victims. Yes, it was almost like we can go down that. You could go down that path of victim blaming, where they make it out to be the victim's fault. It's basically gaslighting, right? I
Yes.
mean, once I realized what gaslighting and narcissism was, I had someone recently who I knew, and I turned around one day and they were trying to gaslight me. And I went off. I turned around and went, "Don't try your effing gaslighting bullshit on me." I said, "I've lived through it all my fucking life. I'm not going to put up with you doing this and saying,
Right.
no way, stop." You should have seen the look on that person's face. It was like, oh my God, he just saw straight through me, but then still tried gaslighting me after I called him out on it. They can't help it.
Can
And
you
these judges,
explain for the audience that does not that may not be familiar with the term gaslighting?
well, um, making you feel guilty for something somebody else has done,
Mm,
something that's not your fault, but you're being made to feel guilty for it.
mm, yeah.
So it's like if somebody punched you in the arm and then turned around and went, "Why did you make me punch you?"
Okay, yeah.
There you go. That's the simplest explanation,
That's
righto.
it.
That'll
That's
do.
it.
Someone punches you in the arm and then blames you for them doing it, even though you've done nothing. That's gaslighting. And then once they know that they can get it over you, they make it worse and worse and worse to the point where they could go out and murder someone, and then they'll blame you for because they murdered that person. They will push it as far as they can, because narcissists are the ones who are gaslighters,
Yeah.
and gaslighters and narcissists don't give a crap about anybody else except for themselves.
Mm. Yeah, I had somebody that I was friends with, and we ended up in an argument, and at the end, when I decided to leave, because it seemed to stem from a genuine concern, but then it transitioned into an attack because he doesn't like my views, and then at the end he said, the last words he said to me when I saw him live, he said, "This is why you hate yourself," and it didn't even make sense. It didn't even make sense to me. I just wanted to protect myself because he was attacking me for having a difference of opinion on something that we didn't even talk about it at the moment. But it was crazy, and I think that was a form of gaslighting because he wanted me to feel guilty because I was establishing boundaries, and he said, that's why you are hating yourself. Like he was turning on me like
Yep.
I'm the bad guy.
Because sometimes they've done it all their life, and
Yeah.
because they've done it all their life, they're so used to people just giving in to them and just going, "Oh yeah, I am. I'm a bad person. Yeah, I do. I hate myself." They're expecting everyone to go along with it because they think that they're the dominant person. But by them, they prove. Oh, that same gaslighter one day, and this was what stopped me from ever arguing with them again. They turned around to me, and I wasn't even arguing. It was like they were baiting me. And
Yeah.
I turned around, I said, "Can I ask you something?" And they went, "Yes." And I said, are you always right?" "Yes, I am." And I turned around to them and calmly just said, "Well, there's no use arguing with you, is there?" Even
Right.
though he was the one that kept bringing up the arguments. So there, I think I had a late in life narcissist pop up again just to remind me not to fall for bullshit anymore. That wasn't too long ago. Luckily, I could see through it. Um,
Yeah.
they're just they're lessons. They're lessons that we remind ourselves.
Yeah, I remember reading this autobiography, and this author, Thomas Sowell's autobiography, actually, and he said there's certain people that he met in the Navy that were always confident in what they were saying and never in doubt. And
Mm,
and that actually, my friend, that guy that said you hate yourself, that's one of the people too. He was always confident and never in doubt, even if he was wrong, proven wrong sometime, he would never lose that doubt. He would always be like, yeah, I'm always right. And,
see, but there's also that line there as well. Now, when we were talking about you were talking about Ben Simmons before, and then you were talking about
yeah.
the Navy thing, the confidence. I'll tell you right now, I've never been more confident and sure of myself in all my life, Matt. But I'm also happy to put my hand up if somebody proves me wrong. If somebody comes back, I have no ego when it comes to being wrong, because I've been
Mm.
wrong plenty of times in my life. I'm happy to be wrong, because when you're wrong, you learn something. Somebody can teach you something new. Um, I am not ashamed for somebody to point out something. It's when people get nasty about it and they're laughing and pointing their finger. But if someone turns around and goes, "No, I can prove you wrong with that," and I'm like,
Mm.
"Okay, show me." And if someone proves me wrong, what something along the lines of that saying is, "A stupid man always thinks that what is it? A stupid man thinks he knows everything." Something like that. It's a little bit more prophetic than that.
Right.
But if you think you know everything, well, then you really are stupid.
Yeah. To quote Forrest Gump, stupid is as stupid does.
Stupid does. Yeah. Well, yes. There's yes, but yes, stupid is as stupid does. I mean, if you aren't willing to ask questions and learn, you, I don't know if you've got it in your country as well. Do you have that stereotype of blokes not wanting to ask directions? No, I know the way. I know where I'm going. I know what's going on.
Um,
Like pulling over to the side of the road and going, where is the closest
yeah,
hardware
maybe
store?
maybe they'd be too embarrassed to be like, oh, I don't need to ask questions.
Yes,
I don't even
yes.
want to ask. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm the first person to pull over the side of the road, and I'll ask five people on the way there. If I
Oh
if I'm
yeah,
not sure where I'm going, ask for directions. And it's the same with life.
that's what I
Ask other
do.
people for directions.
This is my phone, by the way, and so I purposely have this phone. I never had a smartphone, so when I come to a new place, when I travel, I have to ask. So that kind of forces me, and I kind of like it. Like sometimes I'll go somewhere and I ask a couple of people, like I'll ask this one, and this might person might know a little bit, and then I'll go there and then ask another one. So I love it. So this is my flip phone.
Hey, mate, I'm actually really proud of that because I do love my smartphone. I do love what information I can get out of it now.
Mm,
Um, and also the information I can't get out of it because of all the censorship lately.
sure.
But I'm actually really proud of you still having the old brick of a phone. that's
It's not
that's
been
awesome
easy.
stuff.
People have been offering me free phones and stuff like that for years. So
You're like, no, no. I actually, when mobile phones first came out and those first Nokia's came out, I
yeah,
actually did avoid it for about 2 or 3 years. I'd be at work and everyone's like, why haven't you got a mobile phone now? I'm like, if I'm at home, I have a phone. If I'm at work, there is a phone. I don't need one carrying around in my pocket.
yeah,
And then I noticed people sending texts and stuff, and I realized that texting thing is a lot easier than just calling. You can send a quick text, get a quick answer, and it's done.
yes,
And I went, righto. And then I went down the rabbit hole as far as phones go.
yeah.
Um,
Let's talk
it's,
about something else.
yeah,
Okay,
sure.
finish what you were saying, and then I have something.
I think I'm pretty much done with that. You lead the
Um,
conversation. Let's go.
uh, Donald Trump. So a lot of people, this is a very contentious subject because I have to say that I've known many Australians, having lived in a hostel in Scotland. For some reason, there's a lot of Australians that come, and invariably, most of them will hate Trump. Or all of them, I think I've met, either didn't care about politics, or if they did, they didn't like Trump. So and it seems to be worldwide, especially with young people that are. I think it's because they're very much prone to the media programming, and all of the media, most of the media, is very left. I think in Australia you only have Sky, maybe, and a few others, but most of them are very left, right? So, and then the young people also to the education system, they're programmed with very left stuff. But I think overall, Trump actually did a lot of good things. He fought pedophilia. He was actually nominated for a few Nobel Peace Prizes that he brokered in the Middle East. And back in the first year of his presidency, he destroyed ISIS, which was, of course, enslaving people, raping people, killing people, profiting off it, stealing oil. So he destroyed that within the first year, and Obama couldn't do it in his last 2 years. It's crazy. So
Wow.
he did a lot
You've,
of good
you've,
things.
you've opened, you've opened up a Pandora's box there, man. And so
Yeah,
let's try and make it basic without having to go down the big rabbit hole.
sure, sure.
We'll sort of go down it a bit and have a look around. But remember what I said about the God TV?
Yes.
The God TV tells people Orange Man is bad, so Orange Man is bad. That's it. That's the answer to your whole thing. If people don't go, it doesn't matter about the Nobel Peace Prize. It does matter about what he's been doing in the background, which the world will find out about very soon. But I started to learn to trust after my depression was sorted out. I learned to trust my intuition a lot more. And I never knew what people meant by trusting your intuition. It's trusting your heart rather than your mind. And too many people think that their mind is what rules them. I knew from the moment I heard Donald Trump running, I listened to what he was saying back in 2015, 2016. Um, and I just knew, I'm like, if this guy is for real and what he is saying he is going to do, well, fuck, it's got to be better than what we've just gone through. And I mean, I'm the sort of person back then, when Obama did his first speech, oh, he makes my skin crawl now. But when I heard his speech, I had tears in my eyes. It was a great speech, but he was just a figurehead. People will find this out later on, but God chose Donald Trump. He was
Mm.
asked a long time ago to do this. And I knew in my heart and my intuition that he was a good person who was going to do good things. Then when he got voted in, the first thing I thought of was, I hope that he does what he said he's going to do. And then one by one, he just started ticking things off. I'm not going to sit here and give people a list. I'm talking about my intuition of him as a human being. Again, when people find out and the God TV tells them, when the emergency broadcast system comes across, that will tell them in probably an 8-hour documentary movie that'll just be played over and over.
Mm.
I might be wrong. I might be right. I don't know how it's going to happen, Matt. But I
Yeah.
was in my taxi when that election was happening in 2016. And I'm like, I know he's going to win. I knew it. I just felt inside myself. I'm like, he's going to win this. And then he started picking up. He was behind at first and he just started picking up seats. And I'm in the cab going to people, Donald Trump's going to win this election. They're like, oh, he's horrible. He's awful. I'm like, for God's sake. I said, where do you get your information from? They're like, oh, well, I was watching this show the other day and they said he's horrible. I'm like, oh, fuck. Righto, fine. Yep. And then I just watched and he was ticking things off as he went along. And I'm like, wow, he said he was going to do that. And he did that. And he said he was going to do this. And then I started all the hate being spewed from the TV screen about him.
Mm.
And I thought, for someone to be that hateful, there has to be a reason behind it. He's not doing anything bad. He's not doing anything horrible. What is it that why are they carrying on like this? And then the beginning of January, I found out that probably 80 to 90% of all our politicians are all around the world are just pedophiles. We're being run by a pedophile network. He came in to break up their pedophile network and he has succeeded. And again, the sort of movies being played out, Donald Trump is pretty much the world's savior. And if people don't want to hear that, then turn the video off now, scream and curse at me. I really don't care because I'm the one that's fully at peace inside myself, knowing
Mm.
that we have a beautiful world coming up. And it would take a long time to start explaining it all, but we've sort of touched on a bit there. We've been run by pedophiles. And
Mm.
people turn around and go, oh, Donald Trump was one of them too. No, he's not. Because God wouldn't choose one of them to do what he has done.
He certainly is not perfect, and he certainly has made
Oh,
a
no
lot of
way.
mistakes. But maybe this is the humor of God, that He chooses a very imperfect
Yes.
man to do a very very good job. And I love the way he talked about, his construction background and doing a job, this job, and stuff like that he said. I really missed that. And
You'll
yeah.
be hearing it all again soon, man. Trust me. If people can't see that shit show that's going on the TV at the moment with Biden and the fake Biden and Kamala Harris, if they can't see it's getting even stupider and stupider. Everything that happened. I just watched a video before you came on of Kamala Harris walking up a flight of stairs to a plane that wasn't even there. There is no plane there. She walks up the stairs and there's no plane waiting for her. Look,
No plane. Okay.
there's no plane there. Um, and again, look, there are some things that might be fake real news and there might be some things that are real fake news. I'm just going with the flow, mate. All I know is that the world couldn't have kept going this way, because if it did, these bloodlines, these evil people, were going to take us all out.
You
And
know
when they
what's
find out what was on that Ever Given ship, the Evergreen, the ship in the Suez Canal, when they find out the weapons that were on there, the dead and alive children that were on there, man, you know how there was a flood with Noah? This
yeah.
earth will flood, but it'll flood with tears when people realize what the fuck was going on behind our backs. And it doesn't matter how smart you are. We
Yeah.
were all brainwashed, every single one of us,
Oh
from
yeah.
the empaths, to look. Some people might have been born awake, but I'd say 99% or more of the population, or 95% of the population, was brainwashed in some way. I always knew something was wrong, but I was still brainwashed too until the veil was lifted. And all I kept doing was checking fact after fact after fact. And they all kept adding up to the same thing.
Mm.
To we've all heard the rumors about Hollywood being pedos, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And they are.
And even Ricky Gervais made a lot of
Now, oh,
jokes.
okay, Golden Globes.
Oh,
You know what?
he
I
got
actually
them
got
there.
I got my mum to watch that today, and I could hear her laughing.
Really?
It's. I said, now that you know what you know, I said, watch this. This is Ricky Gervais' speech, and that was just nailing them to the wall. And the look on Tom Hanks' face, the look on his face, where he's just like, oh my god. So the
Yeah.
proof is out there. There's things hitting you in the face. There are things smashing you in the face.
You know
But if
what's
the
weird
TV,
though? What's weird is that a lot of people that are so-called spiritual or psychics still believe the other side as well. So
well, then
I don't
they're
know
not.
if this is like they've been brainwashed or this is a certain brain type or whatever it is. But I remember this woman telling me that she shall not be named, telling me that um, she doesn't she said she's not even interested in politics, but she said spiritually I feel that he's a bad man, talking about Trump. And I feel like this is so weird because like this is being filtered through. She's not even realizing it, but I think she's brainwashed on some level, but she's not even realizing it. And then she's filtering through and thinking this is her psychic ability saying, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just weird, man. Because in the spiritual community, you can still find people that are for Trump, but a lot of people are still for Biden, and I find that just weird. You know?
There is no Biden. Biden is bye bye. But the thing is I even said a couple of years ago, I said to people, stop following politics like it's a football team. Just because you voted left or right or red or blue all your life, stop following it like it's a football team. Things change, people change, politics changes,
Right.
everything. I mean, look at Greenpeace. I'm sure Greenpeace started off as a really lovely um,
Yep.
hug the trees, look after the environment, save the whales. But then the we're talking like far left demonic side of things came in and took over. And
Yep.
then before you know it, they're not Greens. They shouldn't be called Greens. Hopefully they're all executed, to be honest with you. But then they come
Whoa.
then they
Whoa.
come in and start what no, they will be. Because if you're trying to shove communism on a country, what has communism done for the world? Absolutely nothing. And when you've got Greens running in, it is basically treason against your own country. And we've got
Yeah.
them in every country around the world. They feign pretending to be um, friendly to the environment, but everything they say and do is completely against humanity and the environment.
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot of totalitarian stuff on the far left. I don't think they should be executed, but I think because we have to be careful about the McCarthyian prosecution of the other side.
Matt,
I
I'm
think
a pacifist. I've never hit anyone in my
right,
life.
but
But
I think
when people know what I have in my head and what they're going to find out very soon, they would do it themselves. They would execute them themselves. And whether people like it or not, there have been executions already, and there are executions, and there will be either more or it's all done. Because when everybody in the world finds out what these people have done to their countries, they would want to do it to they would carry it out themselves. I've
Mm.
never punched anyone in my life, but I swear to God, I'd be the hangman with some of these people.
I'd caution against vigilante justice.
It's not vigilante, man. It's justice. It's justice. When people find out what they've done to kids underground,
Yeah, yeah, because justice is not really just in a lot of cases too. And last thing, I think I'll cut this anyway from YouTube because
that's
unfortunately
fine.
they're censoring me on YouTube. But